I just got into this by, being at the right place at the right time. I was, working in the street selling jewelry, and I got plucked from obscurity into the movie industry.
Jason Statham, Hollywood's king of gritty realism, has finally broken his silence. Known for keeping things professional and letting his fists do the talking, Statham shocked fans when he named the 5 actors he can't stand working with. These aren't casual remarks or veiled hints. These are blunt, deliberate truths from a man tired of egos, lies, and overacting. For years, he stayed silent while chaos unfolded behind the scenes. But now, he's calling it like he sees it. From method madness to diva behavior, Statham's breaking point has arrived, and Hollywood is reeling from the aftershock. Join us as we review the 5 actors Jason Statham hated. Why Statham spoke out. Jason Statham has never been a celebrity driven by clout or drama. He's always been the kind of actor who speaks through his work, his grit, his physicality, his consistency. Over the years, he's quietly built a career on being the anti-diva, showing up, doing the stunts himself, hitting his marks, and moving on. That's why this outburst, so targeted and unfiltered, feels seismic. According to those close to the actor, it wasn't one specific incident. It was everything piling up. Years of biting his tongue. Years of watching fellow actors get away with behavior that slowed down productions, disrespected crews, and turned simple scenes into war zones. Statham's patience ran out, and when it did, he didn't just vent. He launched a calculated strike. He didn't name names to stir up gossip. He did it because the industry keeps protecting the wrong people. As revealed by an insider, each of the 5 names he mentioned has had their share of controversy. And Statham, someone who values discipline and humility, couldn't keep quiet anymore. For Jason, this wasn't about petty differences. It was about standards, respect, accountability. The film industry rewards chaos, Statham reportedly said, but real professionals are the ones no one talks about. Sources say he came to a breaking point after watching how younger actors idolized the very behavior that damages the integrity of filmmaking. He felt a responsibility, not just to himself, but to the crews who suffer in silence while egos run wild. So when Statham finally spoke, he didn't soften the blow. There were no disclaimers. Hollywood calls it unprofessional. Statham calls it overdue. At number 5, Vin Diesel. For millions of fans, he is Dominic Toretto, the growling patriarch of the Fast and Furious franchise who lives by loyalty and drives by code. Number 5, Vin Diesel. Behind the screen and away from the burning rubber, Jason Statham saw a very different side of him. A side defined not by brotherhood, but by ego. Statham didn't hold back. He said he came in thinking this was a tight-knit crew, all about family, but what he found was something closer to a dictatorship in a muscle shirt. His criticism wasn't just personal, it was procedural. Diesel, according to Statham, demanded control over nearly every detail on set. Rewrites, reshoots, fight choreography, and even final edits. Statham revealed that nothing made it to screen unless Diesel approved it, regardless of what directors or co-stars wanted. Then came the jaw-dropper. Diesel often didn't even show up to the focus group screenings that tested the films before release. This guy wants full creative control, but doesn't even bother showing up when we're getting feedback from the people who actually watch the films, Statham remarked. How can you say it's about the fans, then skip the room where the fans speak? For a franchise that lives and dies by audience reactions, Diesel's absence from those critical sessions struck Statham as hypocrisy. He wants to be the captain of the ship, but doesn't show up at the steering wheel when it matters. He added, "That's not leadership." The infamous fight contract clause, reportedly enforced by Diesel, only added fuel to the fire. Each leading man, including Statham and Dwayne Johnson, had to negotiate their fight scenes so no one looked weaker than the other. "You can't make a gritty fight scene when everyone's got a calculator in their back pocket," Statham quipped. What was supposed to be artistic collaboration turned into a turf war, micromanaged by Diesel, who insisted that his character always come out on top, or at least never appear to lose. That's not how action works. The danger, the pain, the sweat, it has to feel real, Statham said. This control extended even to character arcs. Statham alleged that his own character, Deckard Shaw, was originally written with a darker, more redemptive trajectory. But changes were made. Changes that, he implied, came straight from Diesel's camp. Despite being brought in as fresh blood for the franchise, Statham felt boxed in by a co-star who saw the entire franchise as an extension of his persona. "The whole Fast thing, it's not just a movie. It's a brand. A brand Diesel controls like a religion," he said. Industry insiders weren't surprised. For years, Diesel's behavior behind the scenes had been whispered about. Showing up late to set, rewriting scenes without notice, clashing with directors. But Statham gave those whispers a voice with nothing to lose. To some fans, Diesel's obsession with control is what held the franchise together. But to Statham, it's what kept it from evolving. The bottom line is Jason Statham didn't just dislike working with Diesel, he found it creatively stifling. And when he finally spoke out, he wasn't just throwing punches. He was pulling back the curtain on one of Hollywood's most tightly gripped franchises, and the man who wouldn't let go. At number 4, Steven Seagal, a name that once evoked mystery, danger, and martial arts mastery. Number 4, Steven Seagal. According to Jason Statham, working with, or even just being around Seagal was less about discipline and more about delusion. In one brutal take, Statham called Seagal the only man who thinks Hollywood owes him for doing absolutely nothing. From the start, Statham made it clear, he never bought into the Seagal myth. All the black leather, the squinting, the whisper voice stuff. It's cosplay, according to Statham. He walks onto the set like he's some kind of spiritual warlord, but he can't even run properly. Statham, who prides himself on performing most of his own stunts and training obsessively for roles, said what offended him most about Seagal wasn't just the laziness, it was the arrogance. He acts like he's still headlining blockbusters, like it's 1992. Their conflict wasn't based on a single moment. It was a slow burn. Worse, Statham reportedly claimed that Seagal often rewrote scripts on the fly, injecting unnecessary monologues about energy, war, or inner peace, then performing them in a whisper that sound techs could barely catch. Even in public appearances, Seagal carried himself with an overinflated sense of relevance. Statham pointed out the way Seagal often referred to himself in the third person during interviews, or made vague comments about helping international governments. "He talks like he's part of some global intelligence operation," Statham reportedly scoffed. Meanwhile, we're shooting straight to DVD movies in Bulgaria. One moment that particularly irked Statham was when Seagal criticized other action stars, men like Jean-Claude Van Damme or even The Rock, calling their fighting fake while boasting about his own technique. Statham admitted that he once admired Seagal growing up. Like many action fans, he watched Under Siege and Marked for Death with awe. But as a professional, that admiration turned into frustration. "Meeting your heroes is a gamble," he said. "Sometimes you realize they're legends. Other times, you realize they're legends in their own mind." And when it came to ego, Statham said Seagal was unmatched. He doesn't just want to be the star, he wants to be the prophet, he joked. And when you're on a movie set, you don't need a prophet, you need a teammate. Hollywood has largely moved on from Steven Seagal, relegating him to the fringes of the industry. But for Statham, the experience was unforgettable. Not for the good reasons, though. There's working with professionals and there's babysitting egos, Statham said. With Seagal, it always felt like the latter. Ultimately, Statham was baffled by how far removed from reality he was. It's not the ponytail, it's not the martial arts, Statham said. It's the fact that he still thinks he's the main character. But the rest of us have moved on. When Jason Statham named Jared Leto among the actors he'd never work with again, it wasn't because of ego or talent, it was because of method acting taken to an unbearable extreme. Number 3. Jared Leto. Leto's intense, often bizarre commitment to characters has made headlines for years. But for someone like Statham, who approaches acting with discipline, realism, and professionalism, Leto's behavior on set was less impressive and more infuriating. There's a difference between preparation and possession, Statham quipped. And it wasn't just one role. Whether it was S-Squad, Morbius, or earlier indie films, Leto's method reportedly disrupted entire productions. We're all trying to build chemistry, get scenes done, stay on schedule, Statham explained. But he's out there hiding in the shadows like a crypt keeper, doing his own solo performance. Statham emphasized that dedication is one thing. He himself spends months training, researching roles, perfecting stunts, but not at the expense of the cast, crew, and flow of the film. The camera's not always rolling. Sometimes you've just got to be a human being. He refuses to switch off. Another complaint Statham raised was Leto's refusal to participate in anything outside his character's mindset. During focus group interviews, table reads, or rehearsals, Leto allegedly stayed in costume and often said nothing at all. We'd sit there trying to plan the scene, and he'd just be breathing heavily or writing creepy things in a notebook, Statham recalled. We're supposed to collaborate, not host a séance. It wasn't just distracting, it was dangerous. On one production, Leto insisted on performing a physically demanding scene without safety support because his character wouldn't use a harness. Statham, who knows the risks of stunt work, was horrified. That's not commitment, that's recklessness, he said. One bad decision can get someone hurt, or worse. Even off-set, Leto reportedly remained in character, skipping press conferences or responding to journalists in riddles. Statham said that he has seen a lot in this industry, but never seen a guy who made every room colder just by walking in. Leto's performances are undeniably intense, and some fans praise that. But for co-stars like Statham, the cost outweighs the gain. You don't get extra points for being weird, he said. You get points for showing up, knowing your lines, hitting your marks, and making the people around you better. Statham also questioned whether Leto's behavior was more performance art than actual acting. Half the time, it feels like he's acting for a camera that doesn't exist. And if you call him out on it, suddenly you're the one who doesn't get it. Despite Leto's critical success in roles like Dallas Buyers Club, which earned him an Academy Award, Statham remained unmoved. There's a fine line between transformation and attention-seeking, he said. I don't care how many Oscars you've got. If no one wants to work with you, it says something. Ultimately, the clash between the two actors came down to core values. Statham believes in clarity, consistency, and camaraderie. Leto, in Statham's eyes, represents chaos disguised as art. If there's one actor whose name is practically synonymous with unpredictability, it's Shia LaBeouf. And for Jason Statham, that unpredictability wasn't thrilling. It was exhausting. Number 2, Shia LaBeouf. He's like a live grenade, Statham remarked. You never know if he's going to go off mid-scene or mid-sentence. Statham has built a career on discipline and consistency. Whether he's playing a grizzled mercenary or an ex-Special Forces loner, there's a rhythmic professionalism to his work. And while Hollywood allows space for creative eccentricity, Statham draws the line at what he calls chaotic self-importance. That's where LaBeouf enters the picture. Their brief intersection reportedly occurred during an early table read for a war-themed project, one that never made it past development. According to insiders, LaBeouf reportedly arrived nearly 40 minutes late, shoeless, and visibly agitated. Instead of reading the lines, he scribbled over his script and started improvising entirely different dialogue, saying he wanted to feel the character's confusion. That wasn't the end of the chaos. When the director gently tried to bring LaBeouf back on track, Shia reportedly stormed out, yelling that he is not here to color inside the lines. For Statham, who had rearranged his schedule to attend the session, the moment was both absurd and infuriating. LaBeouf's antics are well documented. From his bizarre performance art installations and plagiarized short films to arrests, rehab stints, and allegations of abuse. He's been banned from Broadway theaters, arrested during film shoots, and even walked red carpets with a paper bag over his head. While some celebrate him as a tortured genius or a fearless artist, Statham sees a liability. Shia's not dangerous because he's talented. He's dangerous because he thinks his talent excuses everything else, Statham said during an unfiltered podcast appearance. You can't run a set like that, not with real professionals who show up on time and know their lines. Perhaps the biggest red flag for Statham was the lack of accountability. He pointed out that LaBeouf's apology tours often sounded more like performances than genuine remorse. One week he's burning bridges, the next he's crying during interviews. It's like watching someone audition for sympathy. The two never worked together again, and according to Statham, that was by choice. He told his agent, if his name's on the call sheet, he is out. That's not him being petty. That's him protecting the crew, the project, and his sanity. Statham isn't alone in this sentiment. Several directors and co-stars have publicly shared their frustrations with LaBeouf's erratic behavior. Even actors known for being difficult, like Tom Hardy, reportedly clashed with him on set. LaBeouf has a tendency to blur reality and performance so aggressively that even his colleagues aren't sure when he's acting. But Jason Statham doesn't do ambiguity. He wants a role? Fine. Learn your lines. Hit your mark. Be a professional, Statham said. This isn't a therapy session. It's a film set. In the world of acting, where method can sometimes border on madness, LaBeouf has made a name for himself, but at a cost. And for someone like Statham, who values structure over spectacle, that cost is simply too high. He's got talent, no doubt, but Statham is not interested in stepping over broken glass to get to it, he concluded. With Shia LaBeouf, it's always fireworks. But for Jason Statham, it was just too much smoke and not enough substance. Number 1. Mark Wahlberg. When Jason Statham dropped Mark Wahlberg's name as someone he wouldn't work with again, it wasn't about control, power trips, or diva-style demands. Instead, it came down to something quieter, but no less grating: jokes, posturing, and a mismatched energy that never quite landed. Statham is a consummate professional, focused, disciplined, and committed to the team. Wahlberg, by contrast, brought energy, but not always the right kind. He's the kind of bloke who walks into a room and makes everything about him, Statham remarked, in what became one of the sharper lines of his remarks. Wahlberg's jokes and light banter might play well with fans. He's seen as the life of the party. But Statham felt that same banter often spilled into production days at the wrong time. PDA with crew members, mid-take quips, even promotional calls during lunch breaks. Constantly cracking jokes, Statham noted, making the crew wait while he does promo calls for his burger chain or something. It was that burger chain business, Marky Mark's unsavory brand, that became a recurring punchline in Statham's critique. Wahlberg would, allegedly, take time out of production to pitch products, film ads, or participate in business seminars. All of that, Statham says, created a ripple effect. The set lost momentum, and suddenly it was half studio, half infomercial. Then there was the flying business. Wahlberg often reportedly hopped on private jets to speak at seminars for his fitness brand. Apparently, at the same time, filming obligations loomed. He plays up this Boston tough guy act, like he's still in The Departed. But then you see him flying private to go speak at a business seminar for his supplements line, "Spare me the working class routine." This apparent contradiction between image and reality struck Statham as inauthentic and disrespectful to the team that stayed behind. It wasn't mere pettiness on Statham's part. He explained that when shooting tight ensemble action films, tone and group cohesion are everything. You need a rhythm. You need structure. You don't need someone twisting the groove for a brand deal or a punchline. That desire to always be on Wahlberg's hype machine drove a wedge between them. In screen tests, Wahlberg would ad-lib. Statham would stay focused. The contrast, sources say, made their scenes feel off. Wahlberg crackling with energy, Statham grounded in grim purpose. Statham also addressed perception. Wahlberg is savvy, successful, and someone many actors respect. And yet, the public persona of the self-made hero clashed with backstage behavior. Wahlberg's social media often features meditation routines, motivational quotes, and promo shots for his burger and supplement lines, many of which were filmed during production days. Being humble isn't about Instagram quotes and shirtless selfies at 4 a.m. It's how you treat people when the cameras aren't rolling, Statham said. Importantly, Statham conceded Wahlberg's business success, fitness empire, restaurants, films, yet still critiqued the trade-off in focus that came with juggling too much. Good for him, Statham said, but if you've got a trailer full of promo commitments, don't expect me to love that energy during a 6-hour fight scene. While Wahlberg's constant joking and hustle may energize fans, Statham viewed it as noise. They shared a film credit in The Italian Job, but never overlapped much in scenes. And, according to Statham, that detached proximity masked simmering frustration. Ultimately, the issue wasn't talent. Mark Wahlberg has that in spades. It was the dissonance between image and presence, humor and gravity, brand and film. Statham said he is not against confidence, not even against a bit of banter. But when it starts to blur the line between actor and ad man, when working together feels like sharing a stage with your own press tour, he is out. For Statham, Mark Wahlberg was never controlling, but he was always on, always selling, always performing. And on a serious film set, that isn't always the kind of energy you want, and sometimes it's enough to walk away. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.